Mr. Quilly and the Apple, created by Papa Stash. An apple tree grew near Mr. Quilly's home. He loved that tree, even though it never grew any apples. Every day Mr. Quilly would curl up into a little quilly ball and take his nap under the tree. One spring morning, an apple blossom appeared on the tree. Squirmy Wormy was the first to see it, and he knew that one day it would become his apple. A little later, Charlie Horse saw the apple blossom, and he knew that one day it would become his apple. That afternoon, Miss Feed saw the apple blossom, and knew that one day it would be her apple. On his way home from school, Billy Hill spotted the apple blossom, and knew that one day he would give his apple to Miss Pell, his English teacher. All during the spring, the little blossom grew and grew and grew into a tiny red apple. All summer long, the tiny apple got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it was ready to eat. Squirmy, Charlie, Miss Feed, and Billy came to watch their apple grow. Mr. Quilly didn't notice the apple at all. He was busy taking his usual nap. "If I start crawling now, I can reach my apple by this afternoon," thought Squirmy. "If I lay on my back, my apple will fall right into my mouth," thought Miss Feed. "If I jump high enough, I can reach my apple now," thought Charlie. "If I go home now and get my ladder, I can pick my apple for Miss Bell," thought Billy. Suddenly the sky turned black. A big storm was coming. Squirmy crawled into his hole. Charlie and Miss Feed hurried to the barn. Billy ran home, and Mr. Quilly slept. The thunder and lightning woke Mr. Quilly from his nap, and the strong wind almost blew him over as he hurried home. Finally the sun came out, and everyone returned to the apple tree. When they saw that their apple was gone, they began accusing each other of taking the apple. Billy came later, but he didn't argue. He was looking at the footprints in the grass. There were pig footprints that belonged to Miss Feed, and horse footprints that belonged to Charlie. There were boot footprints that belonged to Billy, and one other footprint that couldn't have belonged to Squirmy, because worms don't have feet. To find out who took their apple, they decided to follow the footprints. And guess where they led to? Mr. Quilly's home. "What a terrible storm! We're glad you're okay, dear. Willie, Nilly, and I were so worried about you," said Mrs. Quilly. "But I see you still brought home dinner." "What dinner?" asked Mr. Quilly. "Why, that lovely red apple stuck on your quill," said Mrs. Quilly. Mr. Quilly saw some guests standing outside, so he opened the door and asked if they would like to come in. They all said no. "I want my apple," said Squirmy Wormy. "It's not his, it's my apple," said Miss Feed. "It's not theirs, it's my apple," said Charlie Horse. "Don't listen to them, Mr. Quilly. It's my apple, and I want to give it to Miss Bell," said Billy Hill. Each of them said it was their apple, but only one apple grew on the tree. Mr. Quilly had a big problem. What do you think Mr. Quilly did? Mr. Quilly invited them all in to share the apple, and everyone was happy in the end. Every year after that, the apple tree grew so many apples that everyone had more than enough apples to enjoy. So remember, children, sometimes good things come to those who least expect it. And if something good comes your way that you didn't expect, share it with your friends. You can see more of my stories on my YouTube channel, Papa Stash, or my Facebook page, Papa Stash the Storyteller. Thanks for watching, and share it with your family and friends.